Hi, everyone, and welcome. Emily and we are going to do some reading sprints. I think that both of us are in a little bit of a slump, so this might be perfect to get ourselves out of that. I can see that a couple of people are already in the chat, so definitely let me know what you are reading or what you're going to do during the reading sprints. You can also just be productive some other way, of course, but the two of us will probably try to read something.
Mhm.
So, Emily, maybe you can introduce yourself to everybody who's watching.
Yeah. So hi, I'm Emily, and my channel is Emily Reads Books, and I live here in Belgium, as well as Yolene, and yeah, I read a lot of fantasy, but also a lot of like LGBT stuff as well. So
Yeah, it's perfect because I saw that you just uploaded a couple of videos with some representation. I definitely
yeah,
still need to watch those because often with fantasy, it's not extremely diverse usually,
no.
so it's good to have some representation.
Yeah, I did for Pride Month. I did, and I'm still doing more, but I did a lot of recommendation videos on specific marginalized communities, as well as like lots of queer books as well.
It's perfect. Derry is already in the mood, so it's perfect. I also it's afternoon, right? So it's allowed.
I love it.
Almost.
Oh yes, we're getting her tonight at like 8 o'clock.
That's wow.
So
That I
I'm very
you're
excited.
Yeah, of course, you and Hugo are probably very excited. And do you
Yeah.
know if she's like a big dog or is going to be very big or is she going to stay small?
She right now is 12 kilograms, and they think that's about where she's going to max out. She might get a little bit bigger, but they think like 12 or 13 kilograms. From the reference sizes in the videos we've seen, she looks like she's probably about as long as a corgi, but she's got longer legs.
Oh, it's so nice. And how old is she right now?
She's 8 months right
Oh,
now.
okay.
So she's still pretty young, but she's not like a baby, and
Yeah.
like she's
Mhm.
pretty much house trained, and like she's very cute.
Well, that's a big one. If they're already a little bit house trained, that's yes.
Yeah.
And you're at home to take care of her
Yeah,
since
I work from home. Well, right now I can't really work because Belgium and like the residency thing is like bureaucracy takes forever. Um, uh, so I'm kind of just at home right now. I'm trying to write and like focus more energy into my videos. Um, but yeah, right now I'm kind of at home, so I'll be with her like all the time.
hi RA.
Hi.
Yeah, especially at start, it's like quite important that you're there just for her because it's probably going to be a big adjustment for her as well.
Definitely. Yeah, we're rescuing her from Romania, and she's she's never really been alone, but she's always been like with the other dogs in the shelter and everything. And yeah, so we're excited, and she only has use of three of her legs, so she's
Oh,
like, but she's totally okay. Like she's got no pain or anything. But yeah, so she's kind of like we kind of need to watch her and like
mhm.
take care of her.
That's so nice. Well, dogs are like extremely flexible, right?
hmm
Because my mother-in-law, she has a dog who has only one eye,
Oh my
and
gosh.
we thought like that's going to be a big problem. Like as a puppy, he had an infection and well, he lost his eye, but
Yeah.
you don't see it. He's like running around. He doesn't really have a sense of depth, it seems, but he
Yeah.
doesn't care. He doesn't care. He's just happy.
She does this thing like we see in the videos. It's really cute when she like lays down. She like tucks it underneath, so she's kind of got like this cute little thing going on. But yeah, she had parvo when she was really little, and then she actually had COVID like a while
On
ago,
top of it,
and
wow.
so yeah, that like messed with her nervous system or something.
Just got home from biking. Well, you're a lot more active than me, Hans. I laid in the couch for like for a while until an hour ago. Then I got some dinner and now I'm sitting here again.
I've just been home all day too, just like hanging out.
Sword Stone Table. I don't think so. I think it was Aaron. I think somebody on my Discord bought
Oh,
a new book, Swordstone Table. I've never heard of it before, but
okay.
it's an anthology and it has a really cool cover with there's a castle and then you have somebody walking towards the castle. It's like a knight, it seems,
Hmm.
but it has a sci-fi vibe almost. So it reminded me a little bit of King Arthur retellings, but then with a sci-fi twist. I don't know if that's what it is, but I looked at the cover
Oh,
and it struck me like something like that. So
that
now
sounds
we're
really
all
cool.
intrigued. Yeah.
Yeah, that is really intriguing. Oh my gosh.
Hi, Jose. Jose is
Hello.
from Spain, I think,
Oh,
in
okay.
those regions at least. So he's also a European. So this time period is probably perfect for him.
Yes, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're sure she's gonna be like a nice little small medium sized dog.
Hmm. Yeah, it's also easier when you take them everywhere if they're a little bit
Hmm.
smaller.
Yeah, and then
I
like they
love
don't.
big dogs, but
Yeah, that's the hard thing because like we were looking at rescuing more locally at first, but we found that a lot of the dogs in the shelters here, unfortunately, are they're shepherds or much
Mhm.
larger breeds, and we have no issue. We would have no issue taking in a dog like that, but we live in a smaller apartment and don't have like a garden to access,
Mhm.
so we kind of aren't even considered for a lot of those breeds.
Yeah, of course. And I think that it's also honest to just
Hmm.
look at your situation and see like this is not something that I can provide for the dog.
Exactly.
My I now have two dogs, but the first one, well, they're both Shelties. But the
Hmm.
first one, when I bought him, I actually wanted to have a bigger dog, but we didn't really have the room. And then when I
Hmm.
bought the second one, I actually wanted to have a German Shepherd,
Hmm.
but my my first dog, he's a little bit afraid of big dogs. So so it wasn't really possible. So we almost had to buy a second Sheltie. But
Yeah.
they're
Oh my
best
goodness.
friends. So
Oh, that's so sweet. Hugo's parents have two dogs. One is a Labrador, and the other one is a long-haired Chihuahua. And the Chihuahua is actually the alpha,
yeah.
so which is very sweet. It's very funny to see that dynamic.
Yeah, you often see that like the small dogs they feel big.
Hmm. Definitely.
Happy drunk stage. Perfect. Yeah, I actually got up a little bit late today because I was going to start strong with
Mm,
Stardust. So yeah, by
yeah.
the way, everybody, I'm going to read Stardust by Neil Gaiman. I tried to just finish it today, but I yesterday I was in a Friday conversation video with Steve, but he's from the US. So
Mm,
that's it starts at midnight.
yes, that's about right.
So yeah, it was a little bit difficult to get up today.
Yeah, I can imagine. Oh, that's been the struggle with the Bible Club is finding a time where all of us
Hmm.
it's like at an okay time because Logan is on the Pacific coast, so he's 9 hours behind.
Yeah,
And so I'm like, can we do 5 in the afternoon? And that's still like 8 a.m. for
for
them.
him, yeah.
Yeah, which
It's
is
it's very difficult to find a time. And now with Steve, but that's just because he's in the US. So for him,
hmm.
it's pretty okay. I think that for him, it's maybe 6 p.m. if
Hmm.
it's midnight here. But then we also have Taylor, who's from Japan. So for her, it's the
Oh
day
my
after,
gosh.
like extremely early.
Oh
So
my
yeah,
gosh.
it's fun having people from all around the world and like meeting people that you would never meet otherwise.
Yeah,
But yeah,
the
sometimes
time
you just
zones.
have it's difficult.
Oh.
Dresden. That's one that I have
Mm.
not picked up yet. And I don't think I will very soon. I hear amazing things, but somehow I don't really think that it's going to be for me.
Yeah, that's kind of how it is for me as well. I hear a lot about it, but it's not one that I've had like the willpower to pick up.
It's also a big series, so it's a big investment. Like
Yeah.
if it's a trilogy, I'll give it a shot. But 20 books, and I think that it's going to be like 25 or something
Oh
like
my
that.
gosh.
That's a lot. Summer holidays.
Oh, that's
I
nice.
wish I had 2 months off.
Yeah.
I can't complain. I am going to have 3 weeks off, which is still a lot more than most people. But yeah, summer holidays, huh?
Oh my
Memories.
gosh.
Hi, Amy.
Hello.
Amy's from the UK, so
Oh,
afternoon.
so this is a good time for Amy as well.
Yeah, you can see that the people in the chat all have the
Yeah.
same time zone, more or less.
It's so nice like to do something at this time because I've been wanting to do sprints and like meet other people in a similar time zone.
Yeah,
Because all my friends are still like a lot of my friends are still back in the States, so it's
yeah,
hard.
of course. Because I think that you moved to Belgium 6 months ago, something like that.
Yeah, just about 6 months. Yeah.
And you've been adjusting a little bit because it's difficult in a new city. But I think that you live like close to Antwerp, which is, well, for Belgium, it's a pretty big city. I think that
Yeah.
most people speak English, so
Yeah, no, it's been good. I mean we're like a 10-minute tram ride from the center of Antwerp. And it's been really nice. Everyone here has been really nice. I've made a few friends, but a lot of our schedules are like opposite. Like the friend that I'm like closest with, she works nights, so I don't really see her very much. Um and yeah, no, everyone's been really nice, and I know just enough Dutch to ask for help and to like ask them if they speak English or order my coffee. So
yeah, Dutch is a very difficult language to learn, I've been
yeah,
told. So
it's interesting because it's so similar to English in some ways and then so different in other ways where some sentences I can pick up immediately and like it's ingrained, and then there are other things where it's like no matter how many times I say it or practice it, like it will never stick.
Mhm. Ooh, okay. It's so the Swordstone Table one that I was talking about with King Arthur Legends. It's an
Yeah.
LGBTQI plus short story retellings
Oh my
of the
gosh.
Arthurian legends. That's very cool. I've never heard of it before, but now
No,
it's
me
on my
neither.
radar.
Yeah, I'm
Huh.
gonna have to add that one to my story graph and my Goodreads because I just read Legendborn fairly recently, which is also like an Arthurian legend book, fantasy book. But I haven't read too many of it, but like it got me really intrigued in the Arthurian tales and like the legacy that those stories have kind of taken on over time, which is really cool.
Yeah, I've heard great things about Legendborn, but I've never read an Arthurian legend retelling. So I have a couple on my shelves, but I haven't read them yet. So I'm like, I'm intrigued,
Yeah,
but I cannot buy more until I've read the ones that I own.
I totally recommend it because it's like I don't think you need to have a huge basis in it to kind of get what's happening because it's more of like that's kind of a reference to the people in the world, but it's not like you don't need to know the story necessarily to understand what's happening, which is
That's very
nice. Oh, that is gonna be a big puppy. Oh my goodness.
She is extremely cute. Amy has posted some pictures on Discord, and she's cute. But
Oh,
she has like her demon face as well,
oh my
which is
gosh.
so funny because then she posts like two pictures. The first one is like very cute puppy, and then the second one is all hell breaks loose.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I bet she's so pretty too.
She's going to be big, I think.
15 weeks. This puppy's 15 weeks and 13 and a half kilograms. That's a big puppy. It's fine. They know you're like in the apartment. Hugo's
I
here.
could see you, Hugo.
Hello.
Mask of Mirrors. Have
Oh,
you
I
read that
haven't.
one, Emily?
I've never even heard of it.
I've read it. I think the end of last year. It's the beginning of a fantasy trilogy,
Okay.
and it's set in a Venetian-inspired city. And you have like a con artist who's trying to lie her way into a very important family, a very rich family, because
Yeah.
she wants money, but the family is having financial difficulties and she doesn't know. So there's like a lot of mistrust. And then you have the Rook, who is a Zorro type character, and he's helping
Nice.
the poor in the city. So it's like a lot of mystery, and
Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
I really liked it,
That
but I still
sounds
need to
so
read the second one.
awesome. Oh my gosh. That sounds amazing.
Yes, she's going to be big. Oh, okay. Well, it's my first Neil Gaiman. I know that you love him as an author, Emily. So,
Hmm.
what did you think of Stardust?
I That's actually like one of his books that I haven't read yet. It's like the one that we're missing on our shelf right now. um so I can't really speak to it. I've heard some kind of mixed things like this where people have either been so in love with it or that they've kind of felt like it needed more. And I think some of that probably has to do with one, his target audience, and also like who's reading it at the same time, because like it's such a short book, and I feel like a lot of people read it and they're expecting these like fantasy readers and everything expect certain aspects out of these books, but they're so short, right? And I think it does kind of leave you wanting, depending on what you're expecting. So I don't know, but I don't know Stardust specifically.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that he's one of those authors who writes a lot of different things. I
Mhm,
haven't read anything by him, but judging by the books that I have seen and what people say about it, but fairy
mhm.
tales often they are pretty short and they are
Yeah.
pretty simple. Like they have like one overarching theme, but the
Mhm.
characters are not extremely developed or anything like it. But I just like the atmosphere and the vibe in general.
Yes, that's why I
So
read him. So,
yeah. Okay, so that's good news because I
yeah.
finished the first chapter, which is like 10% of the book, but it feels like I just want to read more.
Yeah, I think if you find that you like his writing style in this one, I would definitely suggest The Graveyard Book or Coraline next. Like they're a little bit longer, but they're still short, but they have that very whimsical, while still kind of dark underbelly underneath it, in like very simplistic language. And I think he does a really good job with it.
Okay, that's perfect. And have you read his Norse myth thing?
No, that one's actually on my like next one. Hugo told me all about it. And I love Norse mythology, so I'm excited to see
Same.
like his take on it.
Yeah, that's maybe one that I want to read next, but people have warned me that it's written in a completely different way, of course, because it's not fairy tale. So that
Yeah,
if I like this writing style, I shouldn't expect the same thing probably from Norse mythology.
yeah, probably not.
And yeah, Darius from New Zealand, so
Oh my
that's another
gosh.
time zone added to the mix.
11 p.m. Oh my gosh. I like can't even fathom how big the world is sometimes. Like
Mhm.
it's so crazy.
So for Darius, it's actually allowed to already be drinking alcohol.
Yeah, for real. You too though. It's okay. There are
Oh,
no
it's fine.
rules. It's... Oh, hi Hugo.
Hugo's showing support.
He never likes to miss a stream.
Continuing with Emperor of Thorns.
Mm.
Just fine. Yeah. Well, Amy and somebody else on Discord and I, we are reading through this trilogy. It's from Mark Lawrence. The first book is Prince of Thorns, and it's grim dark, but none of us are exactly loving it. It's like
Mm.
it's fine, but we just want to get through the series. So
All
the buddy
right,
read
that's
is
good to
helping a
know.
lot. So
Oh,
Emperor
that's
of
good.
Thorns is the last one. So but Amy is way ahead of me because I'm at chapter 3 and I think that she's like at chapter 10 or something like that.
Oh my gosh.
That's where buddy reads can really help. If you're not like
Definitely.
in love with a book. And if it's the last one, I can DNF books
Mhm.
quite easily, but DNFing series is difficult for me because I already invested time in it, so I just want to finish it.
I'm definitely someone who's like, even if I hate something or I'm not loving it, but I want to engage in a conversation, I feel like I owe it to myself to have read it so that I can be like, no, I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly. It's also like the fear of missing out because sometimes people say like, "Wow, but it's getting better." So I want to
Mhm.
give it that chance, and then in the end, I'm like, "You lied. It didn't get better." Ooh, Darius reading Assassin's Fate. It's
Ooh,
the last book, yeah, 16 book long, Realm of the Elderlings.
oh my God. I love fantasy, but some of these like how long some of these series get is just so like it's hard for me to make it past a trilogy.
Mhm.
Like
Well,
it becomes so much.
it's a lot, but I must say, Darius definitely going to say the same thing because she loves the Realm of the Elderlings. It's her favorite series, I think, at
Yeah.
this point. I think that she's reread it probably 10 times
Oh my
with 16
gosh.
books. Yes. So, but I'm also in love with it. I'm only 12 books in at this point, so I still need to read a little bit.
Mhm.
But it's 16 books long, but it is divided into trilogies. So that's
Oh,
super
okay.
smart. Yeah. So
Yeah, that's
you can just
totally
read the first trilogy and just take a break, and it's fine.
yeah. And it's like that's a bit more digestible in those long
Hmm.
series. That's a really smart way to do it. That's kind of I think what Sanderson is doing with the Stormlight. Also, if you hear anything, my neighbors are having like construction or something. Like, please ignore any like crackling.
Yeah, it's fine. My husband is working in the garden, and I've been eyeing him beforehand, like, please don't make a sound. Like, be a little bit quiet. And then this morning, all of a sudden, his mother was standing here like, I heard you were working in the garden, so I'm going to come and help. And I was like, I'm filming my vlog, please.
Oh,
Yeah, Malazan. We need to pick which series we start because, like you said, Emily, with trilogies or duologies, it's fine. You will finish them in, well, a normal amount of time. But I
mhm.
just started Malazan as well, which is a 10-book long series, and I I've been starting way too many series lately. And that one I just need to prioritize because I forget things so easily. And even if you read one every 2 months, which these are big books, they take me a lot of time. Even then,
Mhm.
it's taking you like 2 years to finish the series. So
Yeah,
I
that's
get stressed
insane.
out when I think about
Yeah,
it.
that is that is stressful. And like you want to prioritize it, but there's so many other things. And I know I'm a big mood reader, so it's like even if I was in the mood for it, 2 weeks ago, it's like, well, now I don't even want to touch it. I'd rather do something else for a bit and then come back to it. It's yeah.
Exactly. And I'm the worst with starting series because they all sound so interesting. So I read a bunch of firsts in a series and then I'm in trouble.
I do the same thing.
Oh, question.
Is Legendborn, it's gonna be either a duology or a trilogy, and the second one is coming out. It either just came out or it's coming out yet this year.
Okay.
And as far as I know, it's like gonna be like a trilogy at most, from my understanding. But it might just be a duology. But I haven't read the second one yet, so I couldn't tell you for sure.
Okay, but that's good that it's not an extremely long series. And I also think, is it
Yeah,
YA or is it adult?
it kind of is on that border
Hmm.
of, technically speaking, they categorize it as YA, but the characters are like 18 and like going into college/college students. So it tackles some harsher subjects than you would expect in like a YA novel. But they still categorize it as that because they don't like putting things in new adult.
Yeah.
um,
Hmm.
so it's kind of on that teeter totter, which is kind of where I like to sit with my books
Hmm.
right now. But yeah, so our main character is either 17 or 18, but then the rest of the cast is somewhere between like 18 and 20 something.
Okay. Ah, that's interesting because I've never read YA just because it's never been something that I picked up. But I recently read Daughter of the Moon Goddess and
Oh,
it's marketed as adult. But then yesterday somebody in for the Friday conversation chat told me like I read it and it reads as YA. So I was
mm.
thinking, aha, so maybe I should delve into YA because I really enjoyed that book.
I will say, like, the thing about, like, because a lot of people are afraid of YA because they think it's, like, really kiddish and stuff like that. And I will say, like, if you're used to reading epic fantasy, like the really hard stuff, right? Like, it does read a lot simpler. But for me, as like a neurodivergent reader, like it can be really hard to read those books sometimes because I lose it takes so much brain power to read them versus like when I read something that's in that new adult YA category, I still get all the things I love about fantasy and it's much faster paced.
Mhm.
You lose a little bit, I would say, in terms of like relationship building. I feel like that happens a little bit too fast in a lot of cases for me. But like pacing wise, it's so much easier for me to keep going.
Yeah.
Versus like with Sanderson, like it took me months to get through Way of Kings, even though I was enjoying it and I loved the world building, but it was just such a slog to get through. Um,
Mhm.
so I don't have that issue as often in the YA.
Okay. Buffy, that's one of those shows, and it's I have so many movies and TV shows that I should probably have watched, but I haven't.
Mhm.
So it's and Buffy is one of those. I know what it's about, but I've never seen it.
Same.
I watched the third season.
I read Stardust. Yeah, I thought it was like his newest book, but I think that's incorrect. And I need to I'm incorrect. Hugo's telling me. All right, oh no. Yeah, I know. I was gonna buy it for you, and I'm sorry.
It's fine. I'm over it.
Yes, they did. That's I think why I thought it was his newest one because people were talking about a movie or like the movie.
Yeah, well, I was looking it up because Derry told me that I should watch the movie and that the movie is actually better than the book. But
Hmm.
you have two, it seems. You have one from 2007, and that's the one that gets good scores. So I think that I need to watch that one. I think it's with Robert De Niro. And then you have one in 2020, which get like 3 stars out of 10. So
Hmm.
I'm guessing that I should watch the older one.
Yeah, I suppose, because like, how did you mess it up that bad?
Yeah, so if Neil says that it improved the story, he's probably talking about the 2007 one.
Mm.
There's a lot of Neil Gaiman love, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, he's like his own thing. I feel like, and like, there's very few people that like I can read an excerpt of and be like, that sounds like Gaiman, or like,
Mhm.
I like it's. I read other readers, or sorry, I read other stories sometimes, and I'm like, okay, anyone could have written that, or like it sounds very similar, but like I read something by him, and I'm like, yeah, that's Neil.
Best at comics. I've seen some of his comics,
Mm.
but yeah, I haven't given them a chance yet. So, by the way, I'm just going to quickly mention I'm a little bit behind in the comments, but please let me know if you want to have like a 30-minute or a 45-minute timer for the sprints. And then once I get through the comments, we can start reading, maybe.
Mhm. So sorry. I feel like I keep taking up time talking.
No, it's perfect. This is what always happens during reading sprints. I think that I'm going to read a lot, but then talking is actually more fun. So it's just like 90% talking, 10 minutes reading.
Yeah. Yeah, Coraline is that was my first book by him. I read it when I was in like third or fourth grade and I had nightmares, but it's still like a staple of like Gaiman.
Yeah, that's one that I'm a little bit afraid of because I get scared very easily. And so
He does a great job.
it can happen that I like watch a scary movie and that my husband is not allowed to go out at night, like
Oh
until I'm until I can sleep alone again.
no.
Ooh, Australia.
Oh wow. Well, that's amazing.
Yeah, I feel like the afternoon Belgian time is one that most people can join.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Well,
it's yeah.
you go ahead, Emily.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, I know it's just him like saying it, but I think like because Hugo's talked about it a lot, where it's just kind of the way he makes mythology kind of digestible. Because sometimes when you read myths, they put a lot of flowery language in it and everything, and it can be hard to even understand still. But from my understanding, he makes it very easy and accessible to understand.
Hmm. And both Derry and Jose are saying that he's an awesome narrator as well.
Hmm.
I have the audiobook. So I actually also have it for Stardust, but I also have the physical book. So I'm like, maybe I should read it physically. But maybe Norse myths I can listen to. And I haven't read the original Norse myths. I've read some retellings, but it's just nice to see the source material told in a digestible way.
Hmm.
So I'm looking forward to that one. York. York is the main character from the Emperor of Thorns series that we're reading. I'm liking him more right now, but in the first book he was like extremely dark and
Ooh.
a little bit of a sociopath, but it wasn't really explained that much. It was like it wasn't a gray character, he was like extremely dark.
Oh
But
wow.
now I understand him better, but it's still dark content.
Hmm.
Yeah, exactly. So the confusing elements have been streamlined.
There we go. Yeah.
Some more Neil Gaiman love. Yeah, so Realm of the Elderlings, the 16 book long series. Um, I know that a lot of people think that Farseer, the first trilogy, is the weakest one because you follow Fitz when he's a small boy. He's a royal bastard and he's taken into the castle, but they don't really know what to do with him. So
Oh.
he's like unwanted a little bit. So it's very sad. I think that
Oh.
uh, in in general, Realm of the Elderlings is just a very emotional read, and
Mm.
Robin Hobb loves to torture Fitz and just makes him go through so much emotional stuff. But Farseer for me is the worst one because he's so young and it
Mm.
feels like he can't he's really helpless. So I found that a very difficult read and I thought it picked up after that that he also had his happy moments. But
Mhm.
Farseer, that was a tough one. That's crazy, Derry.
21 times. 21 times? I
Well,
can't even imagine.
to be honest, it is an amazing series. But Derry is a big rereader. She's also read the A Song of Ice and Fire series a lot of times.
Okay.
And sometimes I'm thinking that I should reread a little bit more, maybe, because
Yeah.
I always feel like I need to read what's new, what I haven't read yet, because I have so many books on my TBR. But
Mhm.
rereading a book that you love,
It's
it's
so
amazing.
so different. Yeah. It's the one nice thing I think about leaving most of my books back in the States has been that like on my physical TBR, I technically don't have that many glaring at me all the time. So I feel like I'm a little bit better about maybe I could go back and reread some of the stuff here. But yeah. Oh, and I've been wanting to read Assassin's Apprentice. Like that one I
Yeah.
actually have been looking at reading. So I will have
Uh,
to.
We're going to be very excited when once you start reading it to hear your thoughts. 'Cause,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that a lot of us once you start reading Realm of the Elderlings, you get attached to Fitz. So you just want to know what people are feeling when they read about him. Well, it's I'm also overweight, Hans, and I'm not doing anything about it. So at least you're doing something. I should start. I have like an active watch now, and I just want to get my steps every day. It's not a lot, but it's something.
My parents do this do the same thing. Because they both work from home now, and they will just when we lived there, they would just leave their offices and do like laps around the living room, and then go back.
Yeah. Well, my watch does the same thing because I work in a lab, but now I'm at the stage where I'm doing a lot of research, so constantly watching the computer screen, and like
Mhm.
every hour my watch is like, let's be active together. I'm like, not now. So it's
Remind
not
me in
helping
10
that much.
minutes. Yeah.
Exactly. Wheel of Time. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
if, to be honest, Hugo, I don't think it's worth your time. I DNF'd it after the fourth book, and I just really didn't like it. I know that a lot of people love the series, but
Mm,
for me, it felt maybe a little bit outdated. I don't know how to say that in a nice way, but
no,
yeah,
that's fine. That is the nice way.
Derry has my lifestyle.
Gary's a mood. Oh my gosh.
I want to live in a country where it's warm enough to have siesta time.
Yeah.
Enjoy, Jose.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And
exactly.
I think it's important to, prioritize like books that you actually want to read and not reading what everyone else is reading and like being able to look at something and being like, that might not be, the right series for me, even though it's so popular. Like it's a skill. I I wish I was better at it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree
Yeah, I
completely.
think that maybe it's a little bit more escapism at
Hmm.
times, which is completely valid to read for that reason. I've been reading some pretty big ones right now, and I feel like that's what's putting me in a reading slump.
Hmm.
So I've been picking up fairy tales lately, and that's
Yeah.
working perfect.
Oh, I love that.
Exactly.
Hmm. Hmm. I 100% agree. And I think that that's why it's so much easier to like get through them for me at least so quickly. Yeah. 100%. Okay.
It's one of those series that um how is it called? Like those fantasy urban fantasy
Yeah,
series.
urban fantasy.
I'm not really a fan of those. So that's also why Dresden is one like I know a lot of people think it's amazing, but I just don't think that I'm the target audience. And with Buffy,
Mhm.
I have the same feeling. But my sister was a very big Buffy fan. She's 8 years older than me, so she was the target audience at the time.
I'm a big vampire fan, so maybe that's just the reason I need to do it.
The Stardust one.
Yeah.
It
Oh,
must
yeah.
suck. Ooh, a show.
Oh, I didn't know that. On August 5th. Okay.
Sandman. Yeah, that's a comic series that I've heard a lot about, but it's a
Mhm.
very long one, and I don't think that it's an easy read. I don't know why, but I've had
Dark.
it in my yeah that it's pretty dark. So
It is.
you've read it, Emily?
No, but I've like looked up some stuff about it because comics, as much as I love graphic novels and comics, they're so expensive and artists deserve every cent they make off of it, but I can't like afford to have them because I go through them so quickly and they're
Mhm.
so much more expensive.
Yeah, yeah, I'm the same. It's I love to read them, and I usually get them from the library, but then here it's
Yeah.
often Dutch because, well, I live in a very small town, so they don't have English books.
Yeah.
But it's you read through them very quickly, and if I'm somebody who I'm not an extremely visual reader, so I
Mhm.
can really appreciate and really see that the art is quite nice. But it's not enough for me to just keep it and just look through the art from time and time again. I'm
Yeah.
reading it and I'm never going to look at it again. So
Yeah, that's kind of what I did with Sanderson's White Sand series. I got those from the library, and like, I'm glad I did because now I've read them, and I'm like, yay, I've finished this part of the Cosmere. But it's just like I looked at buying them, and it was like $30 per book, and I read them in a day. So
mhm. Yeah, exactly. And you've read the first three books, right, in the Stormlight Archive series?
the first two, I'm gonna read Oathbringer probably when you read it because I need the
Perfect.
motivation.
Yeah. I'm reading Words of Radiance. I'm going to start July 1st. So then probably Oathbringer like 2 months after that because I need a
Yeah,
break after those
no,
big books.
that's good with me.
Okay, so it seems like a lot of people are saying 45 minutes. And well, I'm always going to be behind in the chat, I think. So I'm just going to try to remember where I'm at right now. And then I'm going to pick a 45-minute timer.
Perfect.
Okay, so normally we should get some reading done, right?
Yeah. Oh,
That's
and
that's a,
I
oh
don't know if
yeah,
I
and
said, I'm reading The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet right now.
oh
And
Becky Chambers.
yes, and if this one is if my brain can't absorb, I have grabbed this one from my room and also the Gilded one. So I have options.
You will have to tell me what you think about The Long Way to a Small and Angry Planet because I've read one by Becky Chambers and I really enjoyed that one. But
Yeah.
she's written so much that I don't know where to go next.
I can tell you right now, I'm loving it so far. It's just it's very character based. So plot wise, we're not really going to many places so far, which is good and bad. Um,
Okay,
but I am
so
enjoying it.
okay, so happy reading, everybody. Let's Hi.
Hello.
Okay. So, how did everybody do with reading? Emily, did you still like the book?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's really good. I'm really loving it.
Uh, that's always nice when you pick up a book and maybe you already expect to like it, but if it's then not a disappointment and it's actually as good as you think, perfect.
Yeah. What about you?
I'm really enjoying it so far as well.
Good.
Maybe it's good because a lot of people have been saying that Stardust is not as good as its other works, so maybe it's good that I'm starting with this one because I'm liking it.
Good.
I am quite curious to see what people dislike so far, but I'm 70 pages in, so a lot still needs to happen. But
Mhm.
there's a lot of setup, and I'm really enjoying it. It's so magical. Really
Mhm.
liking it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's funny. Somebody a couple of months ago, Joanna said in one of her videos that she was going to reread A Song of Ice and Fire next year. And then I said, "Oh, I would like to join." And I think at this point, maybe 20 people are going to join, and
Oh
everybody's
my
going to read A Song
gosh.
of Ice and Fire next year. So it's going to be a lot of fun. For a lot of us, it will be a reread, and then a lot of people have never read it before and are just jumping in. So what started off like very casual is going to be very big.
That's amazing.
That's yes, that's true. Especially for like more dense books where you have a reveal later on. It's fun to go back, read it, and see which clues you missed.
Mhm. Definitely.
Lives in my heart rent free.
Mhm. Mhm. I can imagine.
Okay, so
Oh,
perfect.
thanks, Hugo. You just ordered Assassin's Apprentice.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
Oh,
I think that you're really going to love it. I think that you're going to love Fitz.
good.
Yeah. And I'm currently
Mm.
in the Rainwild Chronicles, which is the fourth series in the five series in total.
Mhm.
And I think that I will have to reread it with all of the information that you have now. I don't know when it will happen exactly. I think that I will finish the entire series by the end of this year, and then I will probably reread Farseer in 2023.
Nice.
Exactly, Hans. Everybody seems to be loving Realm of the Elderlings. I haven't seen a lot of
Yeah,
people who don't like it.
that's good. I'm looking forward to doing that one then.
Okay.
That is true. It is one of the like earlier shows that I've seen that has like actual clear LGBT rep, but not only that, it's that she's a lesbian and like there's not a lot of women loving women media in
Mhm.
general, but especially in that time period. So,
Yeah, because I think it came out in what early 2000s, maybe the 90s even.
mhm.
So yeah, maybe just for that reason alone, I should give it a try.
Yeah, that's the hard thing about the graphic novel comics.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I've seen the collections where you can buy them in one batch, and then
Hmm.
it's well, it's still expensive, but it's less expensive if you buy them each separately. But that's a big risk because if you don't like it, you have the entire collection.
Yeah.
And yeah, Hans is a really good artist. I've
Oh,
seen some of
really?
his works, and yeah, he's very talented. But then I can understand that you probably look more at the visual aspect of it as well.
Hmm. Because then, even if the story isn't that great, you're like, look at this amazing art that tells a story.
This was from before we started sprints, so so yes, I really need to start Words of Radiance. It's such a big book, and
It's
uh,
intimidating.
on the one hand, it's like yes, Brandon Sanderson writes very accessible, so you get through it pretty fast, but it's
Mhm.
still 1,000 pages, so it's still going to take you a while.
Yeah. Luckily, I thought Words of Radiance was so much better than Way of Kings in terms of like plot. Like it was so much more interesting. I could read it for longer.
Hmm. That's good to know because Way of Kings, I liked it, but I didn't love it in a
Hmm.
sense that, well, if it was shorter, maybe, but for the amount of time that I put into it, I would have wished that I
Wanted
loved it
more.
more. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Oh,
I've
sorry, that made me excited.
yeah, I think that Hans has read quite a bit of Becky Chambers. I'm not entirely sure, but I read the new one. Well, new one. It came out last year, the Monk and Robot one with
Oh, okay.
I have no idea what Psalm for the Wild Build. Yes, and
Oh,
it's a
okay.
small novella, and we have a non-binary character called Dex, and they are a tea monk. So they just drive around town and they serve tea to people and listen to all of their troubles and just talk to them and make them feel better. But then one day he decides that he doesn't really that they don't really know what they want to do. So they just go out in the world and there they find a robot from
Oh my
long
gosh.
ago and they have a talk together and it's like it's so wholesome and cozy. It's
Oh,
amazing.
I have to read it. I This is my first Becky Chambers, and like I don't know what I was expecting going into it, but her voice, the way that it comes through in the prose is so awesome, and like I find myself laughing. And I love the dialogue between
Mhm.
the characters. Like it's really realistic and so good. I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, it's like one of those books, at least the ones that I've read, not a lot is happening, but the conversation is just so cozy and so wholesome. And
Yeah.
it's one of those sci-fi books that for me it gave me hope for the future. Like a lot of them are like dystopians or it feels like it's very futuristic with a lot of machines and not a lot of contact between people. And this was like we had the machine age, but now we've moved on from it and we want to
Mm.
have that contact between each other again. So I
Oh,
thought, like, oh, that's so wholesome and nice and different than what
oh
we normally
wow.
see.
I love that. I will definitely have to look at that one then.
Hi, Lola. Lola lives in Japan, so I'm
Oh my
thinking that
gosh.
it's quite late there as well.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for being here. Oh wow.
Huh. Jeroen works on Saturdays, so
Oh
let's
my
hope it's
gosh.
not too busy in his shop.
Definitely.
Hi, Kitty. What are you reading? Finishing work. Kitty is doing a PhD at the moment, so
Oh my gosh.
I think she's finishing up. She's almost done. So,
Oh, I thought getting my bachelor's was hard enough. I can't imagine like getting your doctorate in something.
what did you do for a bachelor's?
I my degree is in musical theater.
Ooh. No, that's super nice. So it's more like setting everything up and making sure that the musicians can work, or is it really an instrument?
I'm a performer, like acting,
Ooh,
singing, like the people on Broadway, that kind of stuff.
that's so nice. I would be so shy, and I also have like zero talent for it, but it sounds super nice.
Oh, it's definitely very different. And like schooling was very different than my friends who were like nurses and stuff like that. It's like hard in its own way. Um, that yeah, it is what it is.
3% in.
Oh my gosh. And another whiskey. I
Living
love
the
it.
best life, Derry.
Yeah, for
it's
real.
it's Saturday, so
Yeah, relax.
end of part one.
Hmm.
Halfway through. Whew, okay, that's not encouraging to continue reading with that book. At the very least, they are quite short. Like when I listen to the audiobook, this one on 2 times speed is 7 hours, so
Oh, that's not bad.
that's not bad. It's doable, and it's pretty fast paced. Maybe it's also because I'm not like paying a lot of attention, but sometimes it's so fast paced that I don't really know what's happening, and I have to like go back, like what happened exactly?
Yeah, I get that. I've had that before. It's hard.
Yeah, a Song of Ice and Fire is, even though the last book came out like over 10 years ago, people are still reading that series. And I think that Jimmy said that he was maybe going to join the reread next year again. So
Oh my gosh.
if you like the series, you really like it apparently.
Wow. Okay. I will definitely look at that then because
I
wow.
I I really love them, and it's a shame that the series isn't finished, and we also don't know if it's ever going to be finished. But
Yeah.
I'm still happy with the books that I have read.
Nice.
Have you seen the show, Emily? of
Is this
Game of Thrones?
I was gonna say Game of Thrones. I wasn't really. I watched the first episode and I wasn't really into it. And I don't love graphic sex
Mm.
scenes. That's just like a personal thing, and so it's kind of like I just wasn't a part of it really. My parents watched it, and like I knew someone. I did theater at a summer theater in Wisconsin, which is where I'm from. And one of the other interns there read it and he was like, "You need to check this out." And so I don't know, how well does it translate from book to screen?
I think it's especially the first seasons are pretty similar. But I must
Mm,
say I've read the books a long while ago, I think almost 10 years at this point. So for me it's like one big blur. But
mm.
the first few seasons were quite similar with maybe like small changes, but the core of the story is quite similar. So like the explicit sex scenes, it's still in the book. And
Oh,
you know
okay.
there's also some sexual assault, so that's definitely there.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Yes, because I know that a lot of people have just don't enjoy that, and then it's good to know. I think that um, more and more authors are also doing it, like content warnings in the beginning
Yeah,
of books, and I can
yeah,
really appreciate that because it's if you don't want to read it, you just skip it, and you can start the
yeah.
book just as always. But if you do find that important, it's good that it's there.
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely someone who's like, if there's something super traumatic happening to a character, I just want to know ahead of time so that I'm not just kind of like thrust into it. And I
Hmm.
think that's because some people are like, oh, like people are so, they get triggered so easily and everything. And it's like, there are some pretty, like, people have gone through some like really horrible things. And if they're not expecting that to be in a piece of literature that they're reading, that's supposed to be like a safe form of escapism, like it can be so damaging.
Hmm.
So, well,
Yeah,
that's good to
exactly.
know.
And I think that for a lot of people, it's almost a good thing that they can't imagine that because that does mean that they've had a pretty easy life, which is
Mhm.
I want everybody to have that. But it doesn't really affect you if it's in the front of or at the end of a book and you just don't want to read it. That's fine. It doesn't really affect you, but it can help other people.
Exactly. So,
Prologue.
you got this, Hans. I promise. You can do it.
Yeah, it's like normally when you read like 100 pages of a book, you're well into it, but with
It's
Brandon
like you're like
Sanderson,
10%.
it's not really encouraging.
Oh,
But I have heard from some people that Words of Radiance is their favorite. So
that's yeah, I mean, of like Sanderson's books, even like that one's probably towards my top um in terms of like character development, and like I loved the different cultures that he introduced into it. Like everything that was confusing about the first book becomes no longer confusing.
that's good. And I've also heard that there is like one POV extra, and I'm not going to say it exactly
Hmm.
because of spoilers, but that helps you understand like the conflict a little bit better. So I'm
Yes,
looking
definitely.
forward to that. Yeah, I knew it.
Okay, perfect. I'm gonna hop on the Discord. I haven't been, so I used to be on Discord and then I kind of just deleted it because I just wasn't into it anymore and life got really busy. But maybe I'll hop back on and I'll join the Discord and see what everyone's up to.
That would be great. I know that
Yeah.
Derry has a channel. Derry's read it before, and she talks a lot about the series that she's reread a lot of times. So Discworld is one of them, and then of course Realm of the Elderling. She has a lot of content about that, and she's just great to talk about because she's like an encyclopedia of the
I love
series. So
it. I
if you
can
don't know
imagine.
something, just go to Derry.
Will
And
do.
for Discord, for me, it was very difficult at start because you have some very big Discords, and it's
Hmm.
just difficult to keep up. And sometimes it feels like you're like shouting in the void and nobody really knows that
Yes.
you're there. So I'm actually quite happy with the smaller Discords that I'm in right now, where okay, maybe only 10 people are active, but you know those 10 people. You can really
Right.
talk to them and you know what they're reading and you can ask them about their day. So I really enjoy that. But the bigger ones, even though I love seeing what people are writing there, I'm not as active just
Hmm.
because I don't really feel like I'm comfortable there. I don't
Yeah,
really
or like
know
even like a
enough.
part of the group because it's
Yeah.
just so you're a small fish in a large pond.
Yeah, exactly. And especially if you're in different time zones, you see that when I'm asleep, a lot of people had like really thorough conversations, and I'm awake and nobody else is. So it's
Hmm.
sometimes difficult to keep up.
Yeah. I can totally get behind that. Like if like the point of reading a comic in that format is for the art as well as the story, but the art is the storytelling in that media. So I can totally.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think for me, comics, I haven't been reading too many. I really need to change that. But I'm not a visual reader. When I read books, I can't really picture it in my mind that easily. I really need to stop and think about it. And it's not like some people say that when they read, they see a movie in their head. I don't
Mhm.
have that. I don't know how you can do that. So comics for me are easy that way because the artist has
Right
done the
there.
job for me. Yeah.
No, I totally get that.
It's actually funny because I thought that everybody read like I read, like with
Mhm.
just you read pages and sometimes you think about how does it look? But then I heard other people like, oh, I have a movie in my head. It's so cool. Like,
Mhm.
oh, I want to have that too. Yes.
Perfect. Well, then, Derry, you'll have to tell me how you like it when you read it,
Yeah,
because
it's
like 100%. I'm going to be curious to hear people's thoughts on it because it's interesting. I don't know offhand how old this book is. I think it's like 2019 or 2018. So it's like fairly recent. Or 2014. Okay, so it's still recent, but it's not recent. And a lot of the things that she's touching on in this story is so relevant today about like humanity, and like there's lots of alien species in this, and it's about like, the interactions between these different cultures, and humanity's will to basically destroy itself. And I don't know, it's very, very interesting, and it's hitting very different, especially with like everything that's happening in the United States right now, like
yeah.
with Roe versus Wade and everything. Like there's literally a quote in this that had to do with that, and I was like, oh my gosh, um, like just how hard it's hitting, and
Hmm.
it's so relevant even today. So
Yeah,
I'm
saw Twitter. Well, I don't really know a lot what's happening in the US, of course, but since I'm on Twitter, I
Mhm.
see all of it coming by, and it just felt like not reality. Like it's some type of dystopian other world that this is happening in. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
and probably for you it's even more hard hitting because you know a lot of people who are still living in the US. But
Yeah. Yeah, my family, all my friends. It's a very scary time. It's frightening. So, yeah.
can can you still vote in the US, or since you're living in Belgium, you can't maybe?
I'm really not sure because I think they have to mail me something, and I don't
Mm,
know if I would get it in time and then for it to
yeah,
get back in time for it to be counted.
it's going to be
Um,
very difficult. Yeah.
yeah, so I'm really not sure how that would all work. And because like I lived out of state for a while, and I was able to do it then because I would just mail in my ballot and it was no problem. But yeah, like now that I'm in a whole other country, I'm not sure because technically I am still a citizen and it is like my right to do that, but the logistics of it, I have no idea how I would
Yeah.
work that out.
Yeah, everything goes so slow here and you have to
Hmm.
wait for all of the papers and it's just a hassle.
Hmm.
That should be a thing.
It should definitely.
It just sounded so cozy when they were explaining what their job was. Like, that's amazing. Why don't we have that?
Exactly.
Mm, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the show is coming pretty quickly, right? I don't really remember what Derry said exactly, but I think next month
I
already.
think August. I think.
August, okay. So we still have a little bit of time. I know that in
Yeah.
August also I keep calling it the Fire and Blood show. It's like the new prequel of Game of Thrones is coming out.
Oh, okay. I had no
So
idea that
it's
was a thing.
yeah, it's about the Targaryens, but well, Fire and Blood is the book that it's based on, but I actually don't know what the title of the show is. I think
Huh,
it's
okay.
something different. I think that that's going to be a cool one because it's when the Targaryens are in power, so with a lot of dragons. I'm
Yeah,
looking
oh,
forward to it.
okay, cool. Yeah, I feel that. Like, you just don't want it to feel like finished.
You can always reread, but yeah, usually you just don't do that because you don't have the time, but it's always a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm feeling the same way about the Realm of the Elderlings because I have a feeling that the ending is going to break my heart. I don't know why, but I'm
Oh,
very afraid of the ending. So
it's like losing a friend almost.
exactly. Well, the Psalm for the Wild Build is 150 pages, maybe. So it's a very short book.
Yeah, that's
It
not bad
reads
at all.
extremely fast. So you can pick it up, Hans, and not destroy your TBR. Also, the second book is coming out in, I want to say August, maybe, but it's also a novella. It's going to be a series of novellas, I think.
Oh, I love that. I need to read more novellas.
Audiobook. Oh, okay. So
Oh,
it's a comic and there's an audiobook about it. Huh. I've never seen comics in audiobook format before.
me neither.
Do you listen to a lot of audiobooks, Emily?
I've listened to a few. I don't normally. I read Neil Gaiman's The Graveyard Book on audiobook, and then I also read J.B. Taylor's book Unplugged. He gave me an Audible credit to read it. And those are the two like most recently that I've truly read purely audiobook style, but I have a really hard time uh only listening and doing something else. I can't really do both at once. I have an issue with like the words become mushy in my ears if I'm not fully focused on it.
Mhm. Yeah, I have the same issue when I see people like playing a video game and listening to an audiobook.
How do
I
you do that?
wouldn't be able to do that. It's like one or the other. I wish I could multitask like that. Like doing the dishes or like washing clothes, that's that I can do while listening to an audiobook, but anything more than that, it becomes
Mhm.
complicated. And
Yeah,
also
pretty
when I'm driving and there's like a difficult situation ahead, after 5 minutes I realized I was just looking at the road and I wasn't
much.
paying attention to what was being said.
Yeah, same.
That's true.
Yeah. Hugo reads a lot of comics. And also, I downloaded Webtoon because that's what I read Heartstopper on, and it doesn't have necessarily a ton of like the really popular like I don't think Sandman and stuff is on it, but if it's a lot of like smaller webcomic people, and it's just like on your phone, and that's what I was
Oh.
reading off of for a while, and it was so relaxing to read before bed.
Hmm. Yeah, that's actually a good way to also be able to fall asleep, I feel. Like sometimes
Hmm.
when I have trouble falling asleep, I just need to read before bed or listen to an audiobook and fall asleep. But the
Hmm.
problem is that then you wake up like 8 hours later and the audiobook has kept going and you don't know what happened. But there he knows. Are super, super increased the explicit. That is true. Yeah.
Oh yeah, see, that's just I don't like when shows do that
Mhm.
either. Like,
The one thing that I will say is that in the books, the characters are much younger. Like
oh wow.
Daenerys is 13, I think, when she's married to Khal Drogo. I think that Jon is maybe 14, something like that. So they're very young. And of course, for the show, they had to age them up.
Hmm.
So when I'm reading the books, I read them like they're adults, but they're not.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And that ugh. I feel like that's almost like so dangerous to do as well because like you forget that whole context of like these are children.
Yeah,
And oh,
exactly. And usually I can, well, when you read like historical fantasy or historical fiction, of course, as well, it is taught in that way because, well, people married very young and they died
mhm,
when they were like 35. So it's normal, but it's still very difficult to read it in our current time period because
mhm.
you start feeling icky because that's not okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Ooh, teaching a course.
Oh.
Kindred is one of those books by I think it's Octavia E. Butler that I really want to read, but I think it will be a difficult one because it's a dystopian story, if I'm not mistaken. That I've heard some people say when they're reading it around this time period that it's very hard hitting because it feels almost too realistic.
Yeah, yeah. I can definitely see that being a case.
But 2 hours till your train home,
Oh.
that's a long wait.
Well, I'm glad that you're here hanging out with us.
Exactly. It's not entirely wasted time. You can just hang out with
Hmm.
us. I'm like way behind in the chat, and then sometimes I try to do something and it all starts going everywhere, but I found it again. Okay, that's
Hmm.
good.
Yeah, you'll get
I'm
some better POVs in the second book.
okay. That's good to know. I just need to finish my current reads before I start with Words of Radiance. I'm in the middle of way too many books. Yeah, same Hans. I'm a
Mhm.
member of a lot of servers, but most of them I just see when we have like the at everyone notification, so I don't really miss the important stuff, but you just can't keep up with everything. It's impossible.
Yeah. It's like a full-time job just to be in the Discord.
Exactly. Hi, Chadia.
Hi.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do that by default. I just mute everything, and then the few servers that I do really attend, I just look at if there's anything new. Because all of
Mhm.
those notifications, especially when you're at work, it's like blink, blink, blink the entire time. It's not doable.
Distracting too. Like, be checking it all the time.
Hmm. Of course. I don't know how you can keep track what happened in which book. Because I would be so afraid
Oh.
to spoil people when they are talking about like book two in a certain trilogy. I wouldn't know what happened already and what didn't.
Oh, that's a really good point. I definitely would spoil people on accident.
Hmm. Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. And I'm the same on these live streams as well. Like I can deal with a small group of people, but once it gets too much, I just like listening to people. And then I start realizing I actually haven't really talked because I just was listening to everybody and enjoying my time, but I'm like the one in the corner who's just like, hello, I'm here as well. Aha. Finally, somebody who also doesn't picture anything.
Hmm. Yeah,
You were
Hugo's who I thought of when you said that, because yeah, he also really struggles with it. And he listens to audiobooks while he reads, and it helps him kind of like visualize a little bit more. Yeah, because he's like taking less strain on just the eyes
Mhm.
with the words.
That's actually a good thing that you mentioned because I feel like with the audiobook sometimes you also have the intonation, so it's
Mhm.
you know how the author tried,
Intended.
yeah, intended the story. And
Hmm.
I was reading Malazan and I read everything like extremely dark and bleak. Then I listened to the audiobook and the narrator was like making jokes. I was like, I didn't read that as a joke. So
Oh,
it
that's
helped
so
me also.
cool.
Yeah, it's it's especially the immersive reading thing. I also really like it when I can't focus because
Hmm.
usually my attention span is like 5 minutes. So
Hmm.
l- having somebody just telling the story to you, it makes me focused for longer periods of time.
Hmm. Definitely.
Movie picture reading.
Yeah, I have that too. Only sometimes though. Like it kind of fades in and out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a little rough. I'm actually really glad the stream was today because I've been like doom scrolling for the past 48 hours and it's really hard and like I have so many friends that are like gonna be in some very bad situations very quickly. Um and it's just scary.
Yeah, it's like we had a lot of growth the last 50 years and now we're just going backwards.
Yeah, it's so scary. Mm.
Okay.
Oh, go to the embassy. Oh, that's thank you so much, Derry. That is really smart. I will have to look at that.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I wouldn't know how to figure out either. So it's good that we have the internet.
Yeah, for real. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's the new A Song of Ice and Fire show is called House of the Dragon, apparently,
Oh, okay, cool.
which
Yeah,
is
that's
also a
also
cool
fun.
name. I liked
Oh,
Fire and Blood as a name as well, but House of the
mhm.
Dragon, yeah, it has dragon in the title, so it's probably going to attract some attention.
Yeah. I love dragons too, so that's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. But I when I started reading it, I just knew after the first trilogy that I wanted to reread it at some point, but I'm going to do it very slow, like one trilogy per year. It's a
Mm.
marathon, not a race.
Hmm.
That's a great way of looking at it. It's yeah.
Oh.
It's
Oh,
it's
that's
sad
true.
that it stops, but it's also bittersweet because yeah, you liked it enough to finish it.
Hmm. That's kind of how I feel about the Hunger Games. I should go back and reread that one. That's actually one of the only series that I've actually like reread in full. I know it's only a trilogy, but like yeah, the Hunger Games is like it's always there.
It's one of those series that I have not read yet because at the time I wasn't really a reader. I started reading like only a couple of years ago, but I
Mhm.
love the movies. So
Yeah,
they're
and the
like
books
my
were
go-to movies.
oh the movies actually did a decent job adapting the books. So I think if you like the movies, you like the books.
Oh, okay, that's good to know. And have you read well, it's not new anymore, but the of
Oh, the
Songbirds and that one?
yeah, Songbirds and Snakes or whatever. I have not. Um, like I just didn't really have the interest in reading it at the time. Also, something doesn't really sit right with me of like making a prequel to it and making it about the evil bad guy, like wanting us to empathize with him almost
Hmm.
like he's so evil and I just didn't really care about his backstory very much at all. Like sure it makes him a bit more well-rounded as a villain or something, but like something was just like off-putting about that to me, so I've like put it off.
Hmm. Yeah, I can understand that because I think that they're now also making a movie of that
Mm-hmm.
one, and I'm going to watch it probably. But at the same
Yeah.
time, I thought there were so many interesting people in the original trilogy that I would
Yes.
have liked to see more of. And
Yeah.
creating a backstory for your villain, that's great, but I would have liked to see it in the original trilogy because now you
Yes.
have like an idea of him and you have that in your head, and now she's going to change all of that.
Yeah. Like I wish we got the Hey Mitch series. I wanted Hey Mitch's
Yes.
Hunger Games story. Like it's so much more interesting. It makes him so much more interesting as a character, and like the story would be so compelling and like more poignant to what's happening today in the world versus being like, okay, so remember that like big evil guy who kills children for sport and everything? We're gonna give him a love interest and
Yeah.
make him really sad so that we don't hate him or something. I was just no, it just wasn't for
Hmm.
me.
Yeah, I can completely understand that. So, just a quick question, Emily. Do you want to
Yeah.
do another sprint in a minute?
Yeah, let's do one more
Okay.
and then
So
I'll probably have to think about getting
the
ready for the
dog.
dog.
Yeah, of course. So maybe then 30 minutes would be best for you, I think. And people in the chat, you can
Yeah,
also let us know. But 30 minutes would be like not too long, probably, so that you
mhm,
still have time to get ready. So I'll
definitely.
just try to get through some of the comments again, and then we can start
Sorry,
another sprint.
I'll be
No, no
quiet.
problem. It's always fun when you have interaction, but I always have trouble managing the comments because
Yeah,
every comment is interesting and I want to like get into it and talk about it. And I'm like, oh, so
yeah.
many. Yes. Exactly. Do you play video games, Emily?
I do. I've started getting back into it recently. Um, sorry, Hugo's rinsing dishes. I have been playing like some. I like the choice-based games, like where you get to choose between things. So like Detroit Become Human, Until Dawn, The Quarry, um, Life is Strange. I love those kinds of video games.
Mhm.
That's what I've been playing mostly. I'm not very much into the like running around killing people.
It's funny that you say that because those are the types of games that I play.
I used to play those more. Like Hugo right now is playing Ghost of Tsushima. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Tsushima. And it looks really beautiful and really awesome. But yeah, I like the story based like choices. I think those are really fun.
Hmm. Yeah,
Like,
I think that part of it is that I'm like my brothers are 10 years older than me. So when I was
Mhm.
young, they played like those slasher games and all of that stuff.
Yep.
So I wanted to join them because they were like my cool older brothers. And now I'm playing those games. So I think that part of it is like nostalgia.
Yeah, definitely.
That's also a good one.
Oh yes, that's a really smart idea.
Like
Hmm.
well, I can't knit, but coloring is definitely a good one, and I've tried journaling, but I write the wrong words when I journal and listen to an audiobook at the same time, so I can't do that. I can just like use my washi tape, stuff like that, and
Hmm.
doodle something, but I will never try to write again while listening to an audiobook.
I actually crocheted my wedding dress to the Graveyard Book. So
Oh, that's so nice.
That's what I listened to in the beginning of crocheting that. So yeah, it's funny.
I loved how your wedding dress looked, by the way. I saw the
Oh,
picture on
thank you.
Instagram and it's lovely. It's so
Thank you.
romantic.
I'm very proud of it, and it turned out better than I could have imagined. So
Yeah, I didn't know that you made it yourself.
yeah,
It's so
it was like
beautiful.
100+ hours.
But it's
It was
something
crazy.
extremely unique and it's something very emotional to the both of you, I can imagine.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah,
also
that's
a
a
good
good
one.
point.
Hmm.
Hmm.
If you reread or something that you've already at least know some of it, then it's not really a big deal if you miss a part.
Hmm.
Ah, okay.
Oh,
I didn't know that.
hmm. Well, that's good at least.
Yeah, at least they tried. Hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
I can understand that.
Yeah, because when you're working on your computer and I have Discord open all the time, so
Hmm.
you often see like the notification, and that's why I turn those off because otherwise I'm looking at it the entire time. I'm also looking forward to it, Shadia, and it's based on a book by George R. R. Martin, like yeah,
Hmm.
Fire and Blood, but it's more written like a history book.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
I don't really know what to expect of it. I'm going to read it in July, hopefully, just because I want to have read it before watching the show, and I will
Definitely.
definitely be watching the show when it airs. But I don't really know what to expect because if it's like extremely dense, I don't know if I can deal with it.
Yeah, I
But
get that.
but history with dragons, so it's still going to be cool.
Yeah, that's true.
I know, Derry. This morning we were talking on Discord that I was going to read Stardust and then watch the movie.
Hmm.
And Derry said that the humor, I think, in the movie Stardust is very similar to the one in The Princess Bride. And
Oh
then I had
really?
to and then I had to confess that I've never seen The Princess Bride.
Oh
So
no.
Derry was extremely disappointed in me.
It's a classic.
Yeah, so now I'm thinking that maybe next month or one of the next months I will read the book and then watch the movie as a small vlog project as well.
I love
Especially
that.
if I like the movie of Stardust, because then I will probably like The Princess Bride as well.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
I haven't read the book actually. I only found out fairly recently that it was based off of a book. But I've seen the movie a couple times, and I think the humor is very. It's like it's goofy, kind of like lighthearted, silly, but it's also smart in a lot of ways, which I really like. Like they're playing with things and like your expectations. So I mean, I love the movie.
Okay, so multiple people are saying that it's not worth it.
Holy moly. Okay, yeah, I believe it. I just won't even touch it. Yeah, see. Yes, I think there's a real good reason why Hunger Games got the, stardom that it did, because I think that Suzanne Collins does like her commentary in this world on our world so perfectly, and it's so
Mhm.
subtly done that like literally like we're living it and people don't realize
Yeah,
until people look back and they're like, oh my God. Like someone was talking about the Met Gala and looking at all of the dresses that people were wearing, and they're like, this is literally the Capitol. Like,
yeah,
wake up.
exactly. Yeah, it's I well, I've never read those ones, but we you also have Divergent, which I also
Mhm.
haven't read, but I've watched the movies and the first one is pretty good, but then it goes downhill, it
Yeah,
seems.
very
Yeah.
quickly. I would say the only other dystopian series that I thought was really good that I only read fairly recently was the Legend series by Marie Lu. And what I liked about that one, it takes place in the United States that after like half of it has flooded due to global warming. So everyone is living on the West Coast and it's been split into two different countries. And one is like the Republic, which is a much it's more similar to like a fascist regime, and then the right side is like a capitalist, um, sort of world where like companies own the country basically. So that was a really cool series to read.
Yeah.
It's gotten like, I don't know, some people don't really love it, but I think for like the ages that it's written for, like I would say it's just as good as the Hunger Games.
Okay. That's one that I should put on my TBR probably because I love dystopian books, but I haven't read a lot of them. But every time that I do pick one up, I love it. So
Yeah, and they're fairly short. Like the books are like, under 300 a piece, give or take. So yes, see, Haymitch is the best. He's so much more interesting.
yeah, there are actually a lot of characters that just from the movies, and I don't know their names because well, I'm terrible with names, but that I think would be very interesting to see more of either before or after what happened in the original trilogy. But
Mhm.
yeah, not the big bad guy.
Yeah. Ugh.
There he is. Yes, she always shames me when I haven't read a book. That's amazing. Another one.
Oh, see,
Yeah,
yeah.
Finnick. Yeah, Finnick. I remember Finnick. I really liked him.
Finnick is so tragic, and they do not even touch on this in the movies, but they mention it. Wait, can I mention something from the books or no?
I'm fine with that. So
Okay. It's not really a spoiler, it's just part of the world building where when you meet Finnick and it's like so brief in the movies, but they talk about it in the books that like after he won the games, he was like what, like 14 or something. They put the young victors into sex trafficking for the capital.
wow.
And like you learn that Finnick was literally like sex trafficked after winning the Hunger Games. And like it's disgusting. And like
Yeah.
like that's the only thing with the movies is they actually dial down how heartbreaking and like horrible this world is. For a lot of reasons, obviously.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's one of them that I'm like, oh, it's so important to who he is, and they just
Yeah.
cut it.
Wow. Yeah,
So yeah.
it seems like the books are darker than well, the story in itself is of course very dark, but in
Mhm.
the movies there's so much action and stuff like that that you don't really feel it. And that's often the case in movies versus books, of course.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that, and that gives it an even darker twist than it already
Yeah,
had.
oh, the books are so good. Sorry.
Okay, so somebody who at least thinks the book was fine.
But it could have been cut down. Yeah, it's like 500 some pages. Like,
It's also a lot.
yeah. Yep. 100%. Yep. Oh. Yeah, for real.
Puppy.
Oh. Yeah, Chadia, we have a puppy that we're picking up tonight. Yes, self promo. If you want to check out my channel, I have vlogs of me crocheting my wedding dress.
That's so cool. Really, it's such a wonderful idea. I wouldn't be able to like not do anything, to be honest.
It saved us on money because it ended up only costing us about 35 euros to do it in total versus like a couple $100 wedding dress. So I was happy to do it.
Yeah, of course. It's a big difference and it's just very personal.
Yeah.
Yes. You can help me if I if I get confused.
Oh, thank you.
Okay,
Oh,
so
okay. That's good to know.
yes, I've already looked up one by William Goldman so that I don't get confused. And I think that the one that I found was 300 pages maybe, so it's doable. Yeah, I haven't read them yet, but I think that if I heard correctly, the first movie did quite well, but then the second maybe didn't, and then they just dropped all support of it.
Yeah, they like the books. So I've read the first two. The first one is pretty good. The second one is meh, and then everyone I didn't even bother picking up the third one, and everyone has just said that it's horrible. I mean, to the point they didn't even make the third movie for the third book because everyone was just so done with it.
Yeah, it's so strange.
Yeah.
Maze Runner is another movie
Oh,
that I've seen and loved, but I haven't read the books.
I read Maze Runner in 7th grade, and I haven't touched it since. And I feel like that's when I should go back and reread too.
There are just way too many good books.
Yeah, for real.
Unwind. I
Unwind.
haven't
Oh, I've
heard of
never
that one.
heard of. Yeah. Oh my
Same.
gosh.
Hmm.
And everyone's talking about like Shatter Me or something, and I've never even heard of that before, like TikTok.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, Hugo's judging me.
He's a fan.
I don't know. Are you a fan, Hugo?
What?
Are you a fan of it?
No, I've never read it, but I've heard of it.
Oh yeah, he at least had heard of it. I just never had. Yeah.
Drop the book on the floor. That's a mood.
Sorry.
Oh, it's doorbell. Yeah, I don't think it's worth it. I know what the twist is, and I'm like,
Ah, okay.
That is only fact I didn't like about the books, and that's a pretty big spoiler moment. I think I'm having an aneurysm. I don't know how to read this comment.
I think that in the last book of the Hunger Games, there is something that happened that he didn't like. But I
Yeah.
haven't read the book, so I don't know what that is. But now, Hans, I will ask you on Discord because I don't mind spoilers. I've seen the
Yeah.
movies, so I don't really mind being spoiled for the books. It's about children being kind of taken apart. Ooh, wow.
Okay,
Sh-
yeah,
And
I'll
sh-
read it. That sounds
and
interesting.
Schusterman, isn't that the author who also has written another dystopian? I don't know how it's called, but
Maybe.
huh, I've seen it a lot of times, and it's a trilogy, I think, and it's Sight. Yes, it's called Sight,
Okay.
and I think it's everybody is immortal, but well, you don't die of old age, so you have these sites who need to decide which people just need to die just to make room
Wow.
for other people. It's something like yes, Hans.
If
Yes.
everyone's immortal, why are we still having children? That's my question.
Yeah,
Just
like
like be
just
done.
stop and be happy with your immortal life.
I've heard about this one. I've heard that
Yeah,
it's good.
it's Sight. Yeah, and it's a trilogy
Oh,
that's finished, which is also pretty nice. So,
yeah. Okay.
okay,
I will have to look at that one too.
so I finally caught up with all of the comments. So
Oh, perfect.
we can do a stream. Okay, so
Perfect.
everybody ready? 30 minutes of reading. Happy reading. Hi.
Hello.
So that went quite well. How
Yeah.
did your reading go?
Oh, so good. Oh my gosh, I have to tell you, there's like an alien species. They're like reptilian, and they lay eggs. And when they lay fertile eggs, they call it a kas, like cheese, like Kaas. And I laughed out loud when I saw that.
That's so funny. Well, you are learning a lot of Dutch words if you recognize that, right?
I am, yeah.
That's so nice. Are you actually, I was wondering about that. Are you actively trying to learn Dutch? Because I think a lot of people here speak English. It's difficult, right? I would probably immediately switch to English each time.
Yeah, I am actively trying to learn it, and I'm it is hard. I took some online courses, and I think once my registration comes through, I take classes
Mhm.
to have like a more better foundation for the language. But Hugo and I have been working a lot on like simple sentences that I'll use a lot, and like nouns for things. And I do try to speak Dutch, if I'm doing something simple like ordering a coffee off the menu or something. Um, but yeah, I try to not be rude and just like assume everyone speaks English, and I normally ask like do you speak English, just as like a courtesy, because I would hate
Yeah.
to just like throw that on someone. Um, yes, Hans, I am from the United States. I grew up in Wisconsin, and then I moved here in February, and I got married to Hugo, who also has a book channel. Yeah, and now we live outside of Antwerp.
Hugo is a very big Stephen King fan, by the way. So
Yeah,
if
yeah,
anybody loves those books, definitely check out his channel as well.
yeah. He's got
And
like, I don't know, 100.
it's crazy. And you are both planning to live in Belgium like for a long time?
We kind of decided at first we'd give it a year and kind of see like how we like it, like if I'm
Mhm.
able to adjust well, um, and everything, because like I can't work here or anything. But the immigration process to get back into the US is so much more expensive, and it's so hard. And also just like with the dumpster fire of everything going on in the country right now, I don't necessarily really want to go back at this point.
Yeah.
So like as of right now, like I will be here until like next year at the least, at the earliest.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. I do love it here. It's so wonderful. 4% more. Woo! That's like what, 7% now?
Yeah, it's always with e-readers, I never know how far along I am, or with audiobooks, it's the same. It's like, well, I know how far I am percentage-wise, but how many
Mhm.
pages, I cannot tell you.
Yes, they really are. It's so cool. I just got to the chapter where they're like explaining it. So cool.
It sounds really cool. And normally I read sometimes sci-fi, not a lot, but usually it's more dystopian and it's not really with different alien species and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
hearing all of you talk about it, maybe this is one that I can slowly move into.
I think the nice thing about this is that like it takes place in space and they're on a spaceship, but the story is actually about the people, and it's a story about like humanity, kind of like I said. And like you could obviously take these different like species and everything and turn it into like allegories for like race and sexuality. And they talk about, yeah, for example, like the family structures where like you are an egg, and when you are born as a hatchling, like you're not a person yet. So they talk about like how the family structure is super different, and like from a human standpoint, like how off-putting that is. But she's like, that's just how it is. um and like she's like, that's totally normal. So it is really interesting. And it's less based on like the science-y stuff of it, and more just like the relationships of these different people and their lives, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's usually what I like most of all to read about. So that I
Mhm.
think that's why Becky Chambers is the sci-fi author that I think I will like most of all.
Definitely.
Stardust the movie.
Oh, heck yeah.
I'm going to watch it later tonight. My husband doesn't know yet, but he will have to make time. I do the same thing. When I get home and I do have the physical book,
Mm,
I still mark it because I want to see the progress happening. But when I
that's,
don't have the physical book, it's like, huh, I know I've made progress, but I can't really see it.
it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah. And then Goodreads asks you like how many pages you are into the book. And I don't
Hmm.
know. I only know the percentage, and you can switch it, but it's not the same thing.
It's not the same at all. Oh yeah.
Late at night, it's usually better to read because while doing the sprints, I've seen my husband like come by the window, like mentioning like, "Are you done yet?" No, I'm not
Oh.
done.
Oh.
He's working in the garden, so I think that he was expecting me to help him, but well, I have
We're
to
busy.
read. Exactly. Yeah, well, I don't really have the most uplifting reading taste. I read a lot of darker books. It's
Mm,
true. But on the one hand, sometimes what's happening in the book is even worse than what's happening in the world right now. So it's like
mm.
looking at the bright side.
Yeah, like we could be worse.
Yeah, that's also, of course, another way of looking at it.
Hmm.
But then I also read fairy tales, so I mean, it balances out.
I was gonna say you've got that little mix going on.
It's true.
Oh, it's Hugo Reads, and oh my gosh, if you go if you go to my channel and you scroll down, he's linked on the bottom. You'd be able to find him that way.
I have linked Emily's channel in the description box, but once the chat here is done, I'll go and I'll add Hugo's channel as well, so then you
Oh,
can easily
perfect.
find it. I agree, Derry. I this week it's birthday week.
It's your week. It's your week.
Yeah. I decided to introduce that thing that it's not a birthday, it's a birth week.
Mm-hmm.
But my husband said that it was a little bit over the top, but still, we're going to roll with it. That's next level, Kitty. I wish I was that organized.
My friend Erin did that, and then she ended up going on Goodreads, and she's like, "How am I going to get all my books from my Excel sheet to my Goodreads?" And I'm like, "Don't ask
It's a
me. I
lot of
don't know."
work.
It is.
But you've started a reading journal recently, right? I saw it in your update.
Yeah, I started a bullet journal because I needed a way to like organize my thoughts, and I'm very messy and like very disorganized. So I kind of like for the month I put like a book tracker here with like my stars and stuff because like it was really satisfying to write it down, and then
Hmm.
also to have like my TBR for the month that I do like my videos on because like looking at Goodreads is so overwhelming. I don't remember like what I was planning on reading.
Hmm.
And having it like written down, it also was way more satisfying to like check it off once I finished.
Yes. It's it's just a different feeling. And Goodreads
Mm-hmm.
for me, it's like if I see something that sounds remotely interesting, it's on my
Mm-hmm.
to read list. So it's so big
Same.
and it's not what I immediately want to read. So I like the reading journal thing or bullet journal thing in general more,
Mm-hmm.
but I need to simplify mine
Mm-hmm.
because I have so big ideas and then I have like 10 spreads for each month, but I get behind because I don't have that amount of time. I can't just sit down long enough to make them.
Yeah.
So I think that I'm going to switch to yours where you have the TBR and then you have the books that you've read. And that way at
Yeah.
least I will be able to keep it up.
Yeah. And I just do it by like a monthly basis. And then like I can cross it off as I've gone and I can see like if I want to finish my TBR, like let's say I had books on my TBR and I've gotten through 5 of them, I'm like, oh, okay, so if I read this one, then I've finished my goal for the month of what I've set aside to want to read or whatever.
Hmm. Yeah, it's perfect and it's easily visualized. Like you
Mm-hmm.
just open up the book and you have everything right there.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a set TBR at the beginning of the month, or you're a mood
Yeah,
reader?
well, I am a mood reader, so like I don't always stick to it, but in order to like make me like have the motivation to read the books, I'll do like my TBR videos on my channel, and then I'll be like, well, I've told people I'm going to read these books, so I feel like now I have to do it.
Mm.
um but I'll read them like in any order, and I'll pick up multiple at a time. And I've been trying to like diversify like the kind of like moods of the books. So hopefully, like if it's like this one is like, so I read She Gets the Girl this month, which is like a cute rom-com kind of sapphic college book. And then I had The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, and I wasn't ready to pick up like a sci-fi yet. So I was like, I'll just read this one because it's so cute and lighthearted. And I still knock off both off my TBR, but they're so different. Like, it works with my moods, I guess. That was a long explanation. Sorry.
Yeah, but I think that most people try to work like that, and then especially if you've told people that you're going to read something, you feel the pressure to actually
Yeah,
read it. Yeah, I
definitely.
have like some books that each month are like, and now this book is still on my TBR because I didn't get to it last month. In the end, you feel a little bit silly, keep mentioning
Yeah.
the same book.
Oh, yeah, I was that way for a long time too. Yeah, we did meet through BookTube.
Oh, that's so fun.
We had some mutual friends, and we did like a big, like a live stream of us like all playing games on a live stream, and we started chatting, and yeah, and then yeah, the rest is history.
That's so fun because then you both have like the same hobbies and you can talk about it, and yeah, it's nice to have that connection.
Yeah, and we read very different things. We have some overlap, but he reads some very different things that I don't have as much interest in. So it's also nice because like we're different books and authors and like vibes in general, I guess. So like, but I still gain something whenever I hear him talk about books and comics and stuff like that. Like we're not only reading the same things.
Yeah, that's nice. And also just in general on BookTube, I sometimes just listen to booktubers that don't read the same as me, but I just like their
Mhm.
personality, so I like hearing them talk about books, even though I'm
Yeah,
not going to pick them up. It's just fun to hear them talk.
definitely.
Is that possible?
I knew you could with Storygraph because you can take your Goodreads, all of your Goodreads stuff, and put it on Storygraph. I had no idea that you could upload a spreadsheet to Goodreads though.
Yeah, same. I
That's
really didn't know.
amazing.
Goodreads
Innovation.
in general is like not the best app ever, but I just use it to keep track of what I'm reading at the moment.
Yeah.
I don't really go into the groups or anything because maybe
Hmm.
I'm just like dumb, but I don't
No,
understand how all of that works.
no, you're not dumb. It's I also like Goodreads is so like the website is so old looking. Like they haven't updated it in like 100 years. I will say
Exactly.
Storygraph is cool though because you get to see your reading statistics in like graph forms. And they have a buddy reading option on there now where you can buddy read with other friends on Storygraph and have like a little group for the book that you're discussing. And if you're ahead of your friends, but you want to like write something in the group, it won't show up in the discussion until you have read to the point that they say
Wow,
that the spoiler is at. Yeah, it's so cool.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that you were going to say something like you can spoiler tag it, but that's like even better.
Yeah, like you can't access it until you update your reading log to whatever percent or page number it is,
Mhm.
which is really cool.
Yes, especially because Goodreads was there earlier and it's like the
Mhm.
biggest app to do it, but it seems like they don't even try to improve anymore.
Not at all. Yeah, see, and that's really smart too. Like what books you have on hand as well.
Hmm.
And then like what of those you've read, like that's really smart. You can see like your TBR going down.
Yeah, that's the best feeling.
Mhm.
Ooh, okay, Kashil's chosen. Chada, you have read Kashil's Dart, right? I read Kashil's Dart earlier this year, and it was a complete surprise for me. I absolutely loved it. So it's with a lot of political intrigue, and it sounds extremely weird when I say it, but the world has like the Messiah has died
Mhm.
long ago, but from his tears, another Messiah came about, and his name is Eloah, and
Okay.
he's like love as thou wilt. So there's a lot of sex in the books.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and we are following somebody who is touched by Kashil, which is one of the angels, and it's like BDSM type.
Oh,
So
wow.
it sounds like it's very smutty. It's really ingrained in the world building, so it's a
Oh,
lot of political intrigue, but there's also a lot of sex. So
interesting.
yeah, I really liked it. But when you talk about it, it sounds crazy.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. I mean, it's amazing to me like especially cuz like within genres there's like subgenres within it and like people find their little niches that they love and it's cool to see and hear about those books cuz like I would never come across that on my own. right?
Hmm.
But to hear like other people talk about it, and that's really interesting.
Yeah, I would have never picked it up, but then somebody on BookTube who I really trust, Chris Book is Cauldron, he read the trilogy and he said that it was amazing. So
Oh
I
my
bought the
gosh.
first one and it was never on my immediate TBR. And
Hmm.
then somebody in my comments kept saying like, I read that book, it's amazing, you're going to love it. So I picked it up
Okay.
after a while. I was like, okay, yeah, maybe. And now I'm so happy that I did. So
Oh
sometimes
wow.
it's really a surprise. You don't expect to love it.
Yeah, for real. Yeah. Oh, that's Hugo. That's my husband. If anyone wants to go stuff to him.
Ooh, that's a good question. When you have two readers in the house.
Oh, well, so we're gonna do like we're redoing our bookshelves soon, but there's our TV and then we have bookshelves on both sides, and they're kind of just allocated by genre, and then we have like another smaller bookshelf in the bedroom, um, and that's actually where a lot of my books are, and then a lot of my books are on the bookshelf to the left, and then the right side of the TV is basically right now all Stephen King and comic books.
I was waiting for
um,
it.
yeah, and but we're actually going to reorganize our bookshelves, I don't know, in the next couple weeks, and do like an apartment tour as well,
Yes.
and yeah, when we do that, everyone can see our beautiful bookshelves.
Yeah, that's going to be so nice. I always like it when you have like you have the normal bookish content, but then
Mhm.
sometimes people also invite you a little bit more into their lives. And I'm just
Yeah,
I like getting to know the people a little bit more behind the channel.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, a lot of people seem to, which I also understand. Like if you're used to something, it's like just keep it like that. There's just a lot of functions on Goodreads that I don't use. It's like the
yeah,
bare minimum. It's either read, to be read, or currently reading. One of
yeah.
those three.
Well, and the other hard thing is like Goodreads has, because it's operated by Amazon, it has like a chokehold on all of like the publishing houses and everything too. So like I read a lot of ARCs and leave reviews, and like one of the places that they want you to leave a review is Goodreads. So if you do that, like you're kind of forced to
Hmm.
be on Goodreads in order to leave reviews. For authors and everything, but then like you have places like Storygraph, which is arguably like the same and improved in a lot of areas for readers specifically versus publishing houses. It's a lot more reader based, and it just kind of sucks because it's like so it's got this like chokehold on the publishing houses. It's like you
Hmm.
have to be on Goodreads, which kind of sucks.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Storygraph sounds so much better, but not enough people are on it. And I think that maybe that
Mhm.
will change over time. But right
Yeah,
now, you just have to be on Goodreads, especially if you want to like talk about indie authors a little bit more and just shine a
yeah.
light on them. You have to
They
stay on Goodreads.
you're 100% right. Yeah, and the reviewing on Storygraph is also amazing because they have like you can write a review, but you can also put like, and it shows you the percentages of everyone who's reviewed it. Like, is it plot or character driven or a mixture, or is it a diverse group of individuals in the book? Like, and then you pick out a bunch of different adjectives for the story, like mysterious, action packed, intuitive, stuff like that. And then it also has a section for content warnings. So if you are someone who needs content warnings for books, you know, and it has everything from rape to alcoholism, drug abuse. So if you're someone who is like, as a reader looking at that, is way much better information
Hmm.
than just reading, you know, a couple sentences from people on Goodreads who were like, it was shit. Like, oh,
Yeah,
okay, thanks.
exactly. Yeah, I was just going to mention that like writing a review is difficult and not everybody is as good at it or wants to just put as much time in it as anybody else. So then it's easy if you can just tick some boxes like yes, this is true. And it's very fast and you have all of the information there pretty quickly.
Yeah, TBR going down or
Yeah,
oh.
Derry is shaming me yet again. That was one of my goals this year that I was going to get my physical TBR down. It didn't need to be
Mhm.
a lot, just 5 books, but it's not really happening right now.
Oh, thank you for
Bye,
hanging
Amy. Yeah,
out.
thanks for dropping by. And I think that we're not going to go long anymore anyway because you
Mhm.
probably need to get ready for the puppy.
Unfortunately, yeah.
What do you mean, unfortunately?
Well, like
Yeah,
unfortunately, I have to
unfortunately,
go,
puppy.
but for a very good reason.
Yes.
51.
Okay.
Oh wow, and it did go up.
Well, it's never bad to have options, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Bookshelf reorganization. Well, I recently did a reorganization of my bookshelves, but
mhm.
it's like a journey where in the middle you're just asking yourself why. Why did I start
Like
this?
you take all your books down, and you're just sitting amongst them, and you're like,
Yeah.
this is so much.
Yes. At one point I like was putting all of them off the shelves, and I had
Mhm.
like I was on my little island with all books around me, and I was how am I going to get out of this? And
It's
that's when
so
you
rewarding.
realize that yeah, it feels like you have done a lot when you put all of
Mhm.
them off the shelf, but actually you're not even started yet. Yeah, it does seem like a lot of booktubers are now on Storygraph. I haven't made an account yet, but maybe I should, because I think if you update Goodreads, it's not a lot of extra work probably to also update Storygraph.
Yeah, you can go to, they show you how to do it on Storygraph. You can just like export all of your Goodreads information, upload it into Storygraph, and it updates everything entirely.
Oh, okay, so it's actually very easy. Maybe I
Yeah.
should just like look it up after this live stream and then
Yeah.
see and just set it up.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot more for like the nice thing about it is from like a reader standpoint, it's better for the reading community versus Goodreads focuses a lot more on the authors and publishing and like NetGalley, all of those things. So like they
Mhm.
have their great in a lot of ways, but obviously Storygraph is like nowhere near Goodreads in terms of like reviews, arcs, any of those things, which is just unfortunate.
Mhm. But maybe they're getting there because it's still quite new, right? Ali,
Yeah.
compared to Goodreads.
Yes. Yeah, completely. Yes.
It's
Yes.
going to be so nice. So you
Yes.
have everything ready for the puppy?
Yeah, we do. She's been in transport for 2 days, technically, because all the way from Romania. And so we've got like her treats, her food. We made a little bed for her. We've got her bowls all clean and ready. We bought her a cooling mat for the hot summer days when she needs to, because she's got like medium length fur. Um, so we want to make sure that she can stay cool. And I don't know, am I missing anything, Hugo?
That's already a lot.
Yeah, that's we got the leash and the harness. We have toys. We've got everything in puppy paradise.
Well prepared.
Yes, I will definitely show a picture. If you guys, in all my descriptions, you can find my Instagram. I'm sure I will be posting pictures of her on there. So yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be great.
I honestly can't wait. I'm excited now to see
No,
some puppy
and it's
content.
so cute. She has little rings around her eyes. It looks like
Oh,
she wears glasses, and I wear glasses, and Hugo
it's
wears
perfect.
glasses. Yeah, it's all great.
It fits together perfectly.
Yeah. Yes. We're very excited.
Yes. So, well, we're probably going to slowly say goodbye to everybody, but I am at page 100. So I'm halfway through the book.
Nice.
So if I make some more progress today, I can definitely watch the movie this evening. And if I fall asleep, I will watch it tomorrow and I will cheat with my 24-hour reading log and just include that as well.
I love it. That'll be perfect.
Like with babies, yes, it's exactly the same.
Oh.
The first one gets everything new, and then the second one is like, well, we still have some stuff.
I guess that's how it works.
Exactly. But so we're going to say goodbye so that Emily and Hugo can get their beautiful puppy. Thanks everybody for being here. Thanks Emily for just being
Thank
with
you.
me and socializing a little bit. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was great.
Bye everyone.
Bye.